Welcome to episode 4 of the 33SC podcast. Today's guest I'm joined by Alex. How you doing, mate?
Not too bad, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Got a few good topics to talk on today. But we'll start off with United because I know you're a United fan and you had a decent win midweek, didn't you?
It's a bit mental, wasn't it? I just think remember speaking to a mate who was also a United fan, a mate man from uni, and he thought we'd lose 2-1 at the start of the game. So to come out 9-0 was such a contrast in it. So no, obviously it's good to get a win, especially after drop points against Arsenal, drop points against Sheffield United. I didn't expect that. I know Southampton hit a bit of bad form in league, but I think what is it, Hasselhoeven?
Yeah.
What he's done at Southampton, I think fair play to him. I think fair play to the board. I know after the 9-0 loss against Leicester, a lot of people were expecting him to get sacked, but I think they've had faith in him. With the players he's got there, I think he's done an incredible job, and I think it would be a disservice to him if they did sack him. Quite personally, I don't think they will. So I'm quite. It'd be interesting to see how they bounce back. But in terms of United, it's just been that season, hasn't it? It's just been one of those seasons. Liverpool have had a dip in form. Everyone the season, it's been because I think it's that 12th player in it, that 12th man. When you've not got the fans, the home advantage kind of basically goes out the window. And as a United fan, it was a crazy game, that Southampton game, because you'd think, they had a player sent off really early in the game, United would walk it, but we've seen it all before where teams go down to 10 players and they just put every man behind ball, frustrate the opposition. And then when it comes to it, we'll go nick something here, we'll take a point, or can we go get forward? They're going to bomb on, they're going to leave themselves open. Let's go capitalise. But the commentators on the game they made a really good point. We were patient. We got them early couple of goals, and it was game over by half time.
Yeah.
I still think Southampton were hard done by in terms of the goal weren't offside. I think that it's a bloody fingertip offside. I think it's ridiculous, and I'm glad Bednarek's got a red card was overturned, definitely. So a lot of highlights and a game that Mike Dean will soon forget, hopefully.
Yeah, you spoke on the red card there from Bednarek. Do you think? I know he shouldn't have been given in the first place because there's no way you can get out of Martial's way and whether there was contact, it was minimal. But you have to look at David Luiz's. If that's not been overturned, then how can you overturn like the Bednarek one?
Yeah, I didn't see the game. I saw the highlights and I saw the red card, and they're pretty much identical. I'm a bit bemused as to why. Surely, if that one gets overturned and the other doesn't, I think it points again to there's been a lack of continuity over the course of the season. Look, we need VAR. We need it. It's a must. They have it in cricket. They have it in rugby. They have it in tennis. A certain sort of it, like say TMO and like say Hawkeye and everything. We need it in football. We're the biggest sport in the world. But I think a contributing factor has been, since VAR has been introduced, I think it's taken the decision-making and the intuition from referees. I think that's played a contributing factor. I just think there's been, an easy one is like the linesman, for example, when they're given an offside. Like Jamie Carragher pointed out in the United game at league, when we played him at league, 0-0. You can tell Rashford, he's like 4 yards offside, but they're letting it play. Just put the flag up. Blow off, just put offside. And I just think it's little things like that. I just think they're not necessary. And I don't know what's going on in the system. It's whether it's the referees are struggling to adjust, whether they're relying on VAR too much, whether they're being told they need to use VAR, even though they can give a decision. Is it the people upstairs who are monitoring it? I just think something isn't right at the moment, and it is. Jack Grealish made the point where a friend of his said it's ruining football. It's ruining for a lot of fans, and it's causing a lot of. You don't want to say anxiety because it's a bit dramatic, but I think from a coaching perspective, if I was a manager, in that scenario, it's happened with City with 96-minute goals disallowed or penalty decisions given at 10 minutes into stoppage time. It is really demotivating and demoralising, and something needs to be changed. The FA needs to be looking into this, because if it's one or two occasions you think, right, we can move on, it's TV problems, but when it's happening every other game and it's consistent, something needs to be changing. Like, it's not rocket science.
100%. And I think one of the points you touched on there, a referee's becoming a bit too reliant on it because they're not using the pitchside monitors, which are there either. They're relying on people in an office saying that they shouldn't be given, or this is the other card, I should overturn it to a red card. But it's up to you to go to the pitchside monitors and say, do I need to upgrade it or do we need to downgrade it, and stop relying on people. Because I think his name's Jansvich, the lad that got sent off against United. That was a straight red. You didn't need to review that one. But there's been times in other games where you think, just go and have a look for yourself. There's monitors there available for you.
Is he doing it for sure? Like, is he doing it because he's been told in his ear to do it? Like, just go look at the telly just because it shows that we're using VAR. And then maybe it's like a smoke screen of, he's used VAR, he's used the monitor, so VAR's worked in that scenario. Is it a case of that? Because it is being heavily scrutinised. And I think it touches again on the point of, I think referees are losing their intuition and their initiative. And I think there are some scenarios where VAR has worked, and when they've used a monitor, I think it's bob on. But unfortunately, at the moment, the negatives are outweighing the positives at the moment. And that is what's letting people down. I think it's a madness how it takes 5 or 6, 7 minutes to come to a decision. Like, you're not going to please anyone in this world, especially in football. You're always going to have a divide of opinions, okay? And I think it's I think referees and VAR are trying to make a decision to please everyone sometimes. Look, if someone isn't happy with a decision, even though it's the right decision, then it's tough. And again, I think once this season's over with, and fingers crossed, when it comes to August time and the league, it's a new season and fans can come back in, maybe VAR won't be scrutinised and pointed the finger out as much. But because what's going on with COVID and the fans aren't in the stadium and we're playing under not normal circumstances, it is sticking out like a sore thumb at the moment. So that's why I think there's a lot of bedlam with it. And that's why it's always VAR this, VAR that, etc., etc. So I think over the next few months, once the season ends, I think it will pass. And I think there will be some more. I think it will become more sustainable, and it will be the thing that the league has needed and football has needed for a number of years now. So it's one of those, isn't it?
One of the things that stands out for me, especially with VAR, probably the final point here, is the offside rule, because I don't think they know where they're coming or going with it. Adams was a fingertip offside, as you mentioned earlier. Are we going to get that tedious with the offside calls now?
Yeah, I think there needs to be I think there's a fine line between someone being offside and an involuntary natural movement. And it's like, I think it was the West Ham Aston Villa game where I think it's Ogbonna. He's pushed Watkins into an offside position. So how is that fair on the striker in that scenario? Surely, I think it's common sense in it. I think he's staying offside. He's been pushed, so technically that is a foul, and that is before the offside. The whistle was blown for offside, so that should be called back for a penalty. And it's going back to certain times where it's an ankle offside, or someone stuck his arm. I think it happened with Bamford. Bamford stuck his arm out, as in, give me the ball. I'm using a visual. I'm using a way of communicating, but he's give it offside. And I think there needs to be a fine line with it. If someone is running and their body is in the motion where they're offside, I think that should be given. But if someone's sticking an arm out or they've just turned their hips a little teeny bit, you can't get offside for it. You can't give offside for a fingertip. I mean, I'm not like there's been a few outrageous comments saying, "Oh, if that goal could have got in, it could have been a different result." I'm like, lad, you're 4-0 down. If you scored, it would have been 4-1. You wouldn't have come back and drawn 4-all or come back and miraculously won 5-4. You've got 10 men. You may have gone, "Oh, give it a bit of a goal," but then it leaves them exposed. We would have. It's still. I'm not being funny. It wouldn't have been 9-1 or 9-0, but they wouldn't have won the game.
Yeah.
But it gives them a consolation. It takes a bit of pressure off VAR for giving them the goal. And would it not have been 9? Would we not have scored? We probably wouldn't have scored 9. We probably may have. I reckon we still would have scored about 2 or 3 more. So, yeah, I think there needs to be a clear rule and understanding of. I think the referee should be able to have an opinion and going. He can't move to prevent that. He can't do. It's involuntary movements. It's just momentum. So I think that in particular really needs to be looked at.
And hopefully we'll get that in the next few seasons. But moves us nicely into our next topic. Emma Hayes, Chelsea women's manager, was linked with a AFC Wimbledon job. She ruled herself out, but what's your opinion on that?
I'm quite frankly, I'm disappointed. As someone who's coached, I've been in women's football. I've coached girls of all ages. I've coached women. I even based my uni research project on the conflicts that women face in sport, and women's football has grown exponentially over the last 5 or 6 years. It's growing. There's clearly talent there. More women coaches are coming through now through the FA. England women's are doing they did really well. They've been getting to say the business end of stages in competitions. We've seen with United ladies how much they've grown in the last couple of seasons. I've seen United ladies train at Leeds Sports Village where I used to work at my previous job, and I just think. Phil Neville went to go and coach in women's football and no one batted an eyelid. I think this Emma Hayes, she's proven herself in the top flight of women's football. She's won trophies at Chelsea. She's coached some of the best female footballers going around. She's clearly got the resume for it. Go and cross the bridge. Go and show people, because there are some people that are misogynistic or I wouldn't want a female coach in my team. Blah, blah, blah kind of thing. Go prove them wrong. Because I'm not being funny, if I was a young up-and-coming female coach and I saw that an experienced female coach and manager has gone over to coach men's elite football, okay, I'd be so inspired. I just think I think she's been stupid. I'm just going to say it. I think she's made a massive error of judgment. And she was going on about... I'm in the best job in the world, this and that. I'm sorry, but there is still a categorical difference between women's football and men's football. And I think she's really shot herself in the foot there, big time.
Do you think it's one of them? If she'd put her comments out properly, I think one of them was AFC Wimbledon couldn't afford her. I know she soon spoke about what she meant she was in the best job in the world. But if she'd have just said that right from the off instead of saying they couldn't afford them, I think people would have given it a bit more insight and thought. But when you say something like that, I understand that AFC Wimbledon are a small club. But to me, that's putting your nose down at them instead of saying, I don't fancy the job, but thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, I just think she's been really tasteless in it, and I think she's come across as really arrogant. And I'm not being funny. Wimbledon may not be the biggest club in the world, but they're in the football league. Anyone would want that opportunity. Anyone who's there is a bit of a rhetoric at the moment where some managers are being picked over as like, I think a lot of English managers on a whole, are they getting the jobs that they've merited? Like, we have a thing in particular in the Premier League and the Championship where when a manager gets sacked, do we look at our own homegrown coaches? No, we look to go overseas.
Yeah.
And I just think she's a young English manager. She's won titles. She's tasted success. And she's been offered a job to go reinvent herself and go make history, should we say. She'll be the first women's manager in the Men's Football League. And not only has she spoke about it on one occasion, not 2 occasions, but 3 occasions, she's made herself look... she's made Wimbledon, the club itself, look very... like she's belittled them. And I just don't understand it. I spoke to a friend about it, my friend who's also a women's coach, and she said she agrees with what I was saying. However, on the flip side of it, she said that she'd get scrutinised in every decision she'd make. And I do agree with that. I think she would get scrutinised, but that's part and parcel to the game. I think you've got to be mentally strong to be a manager. And I think go. Only opinion she needs to focus on is her own opinion. She clearly knows what she's doing. She clearly knows how to develop players. Wimbledon are in a tough spot at the moment. Go change it about. Go shake up a little bit. It might be the best thing that ever happened to the club, but she's just battered it off without really taking into consideration. So I just don't understand. I really, really don't understand why she's done it.
Hypothetically, saying she did take the job and brought that winning mentality that she's used to the Chelsea women's into Wimbledon, I don't think she'll understand how much of an effect that would have had on the club as well. Because when you bring a winner in, it does lift. I know it's up to the players to reach that level with her. But the moment you bring someone in like that, it does bring a buzz around the dressing room, around the club. Like, we can do this. Like, if you can do it, we'll raise our level and join you.
Yeah, I completely agree. Look, gender means nothing. If you've got someone who's competitive, who's got a winning mentality, who wants to win, who are results-based managers, why would you, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't have to be a man in men's football to inspire other lads in it. It doesn't, like, success comes in every way, shape and form. Like, I know Tottenham have took a nosedive in form since the Liverpool game, but Jose Mourinho did that at Tottenham. We saw it in the documentary. A group of nice lads, however, they didn't have that grit. They didn't have that nasty streak about them. And Mourinho has been around the block, and he's won it in about 4 different countries. He's won the Champions League at 2. He's won it. Everyone goes about Mourinho because of money. He won a Champions League with Porto.
Yeah.
So Mourinho went to Tottenham, and he instilled a bit of nastiness about him, a bit of a winning mentality, telling him, like, go and be a nasty person for 90 minutes. 90 minutes, you are going to be. They're not your friends, the team, and you might know them, but they're not your mates. They're your enemy. And could Emma Hayes do that at Wimbledon? I think, are they bottom of the league, Wimbledon?
I think they're in the round there.
They're in they're dipping form. They're near the relegation zone. Clearly, it isn't working. Could she have been the lifeline? She might have gone there and got sacked in 18 months. But why not try it? What? Like, just because I think, is she scared of failing there? Is she scared?
Sorry, I think you touched on it earlier, like getting judged because she's a woman. Sadly, I do think that would happen. Like, I think it happens with BME coaches as well. Sadly, I think because Sol Campbell got absolutely battered at Southend, but wasn't able to really give him a chance because they was in dire straits. But I think our own goal managers get that extra bit of time where really, if they're struggling, they should be just giving the boot like a normal coach would be. I think that's been seen with a few recently. Yeah,
I agree. And the thing with Frank Lampard really frustrated me. He got the Chelsea job on the back of a season at Derby, and he got into the playoff, brilliant. But one season later, after one season, they give him the Chelsea job. Like, how is that fair? Like, what resume? Like, that's not a resume. Like, he's not done it like other coaches. He's not going to done his cut. He's not going to coach grassroots football. He's not going to be an assistant manager anywhere. He's not doing what John Terry's doing, going being assistant manager at Aston Villa. He's been linked with a job recently. Bournemouth job. He's been linked with Bournemouth job. But I think that's a great move. John Terry, proven winner, proven leader. He's won everything pretty much on a domestic level at Chelsea. He's gone and worked under Dean Smith, who's a fantastic coach. That's merited. But with Frank Lampard, he did all right in his first season at Chelsea. He got Champions League football considering they had a transfer embargo, a transfer. What's it called now? What's the word? Where they couldn't make any transfers.
Yeah.
He had to rely on homegrown players. He did a job. He was given 250 to 300 million. He's wasted it. Should I think he could have got an end at season? I think he should have. I think he should have been given to end at season because it's a weird season. It's so unpredictable. Every single team's hit a bad run of form. There's not been a lot of consistency. And I just think, and I agree with your point, I think managers like Sol Campbell, Chris Ramsey, Jason Ewell, I think a lot of other black managers, I think they're in the same boat as women managers. I don't think they're getting a fair crack of the whip. And the question I ask anyone here is why?
Yeah, that's the real question, isn't it? Because the opportunities should be equal for all in football, regardless of your race, gender, sexuality, anything like that, background. But you know full well, and you can see it firsthand that some people get handpicked for certain roles.
Yeah, I agree. I hate the whole thing about just because you've played football, that doesn't mean you're going to be a good coach or a manager. It is a complete, like, for me, I love it when I see someone who hasn't really played professional football that have gone up the ladder. The perfect example is Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers was Jose Mourinho's interpreter. He was an interpreter, and he went up the ranks. He did a cracking job at Swansea. He did all right at Liverpool, even though he got the sack. He did a great job at Liverpool, bringing in them players, getting a title race. He just fell off at the last minute, and he's won success at Celtic, and now what he's done at Leicester.
Yeah,
they've lost players, but they've not spent 100 odd million, 200 million.
No, quite the opposite.
Look at their academy. Exactly. So I think people like him should get the credit and the praise because he's actually worked up the ladder and he's got his rewards. He's reaping the rewards that he's deserved. But there's some managers out there that just run straight into a job because they've played football for a living. It is a completely different kettle of fish.
Talking about football, and we're going to the transfer window now. Who do you think's been the best signing in January?
That's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, they spoke about it because of is COVID and Brexit having an effect on people spending money. I think that's the case because I think an interesting one for me, I think Martin Odegaard going to Arsenal. I think that's going to be a really good one. I think we all know of his abilities and talents. Yeah, it's not worked out as planned at Real Madrid. I think it's a case of they're the next wonder kid. They're the next this and that. I think it does put added pressure on him. I think that's going to be a really big deal for them because I think Arsenal have lacked a lot of creativity and a lot of flair. It weren't working out with Ozil. I'll speak about him in a second. I think Martin Odegaard for me is going to be a really big signing, and potentially Jesse Lingard at West Ham.
Yeah, that was the one I was going to touch on there. It'd be nice to see him get his happiness and flair back at West Ham because he's a good player, but he's had his struggles off the pitch, which no one wishes on him. And we just
Of
wanted to
course.
get back enjoying football again, which he should be doing.
I felt for Jesse Lingard because he's been at United since he was a youth, and he had a few spells on loan, but then he managed to get in. He fought to get into the United team. He got in the England setup. He had a decent World Cup, and he was doing well at United. He was in the starting 11, and then I think before his personal problems, I did think he kind of got led astray, and I think his decision making wasn't the greatest. I just think he became like an Instagram footballer. I think he was loving the glitz and the glamour and everything. It's like, I think he took his foot off the gas, and I think he settled when he should have been climbing more and more and more. And then obviously his personal problems happen. I think COVID's affected everyone, whether you've got money or not. COVID's going to affect anyone, despite what current circumstance you're going to be in. And I think a move was needed. He wasn't going to get in the team. He's not good enough to get in the team at the moment. And I think West Ham's a really good move for him, because West Ham are flying. West Ham are flying at the moment. And could they do with a bit of extra creativity, a bit of a flair play, a bit of a free roamer? He's good on the ball. He can score goals. He can get in good positions. And it was refreshing to see him get a couple of goals on the other night against Aston Villa. So, no, I wish him all the best, mate. I hope he does well.
You was going to say there, touching on Ozil, it's not been the greatest of situations for him at Arsenal. Now he's a Fenerbahce player. What do you think went wrong for him there?
Well, I think to cut it out, like he is a lazy footballer. He's a very lethargic footballer. He's not someone who would, if they lost it in final third, you don't see him tracking back 50, 60 yards to go recover and defend. He isn't built for that, but what he is built for is assisting goals. And despite not playing, he's one of the top ranked assisters in Europe, in the Premier League. And that's what he was brought in to do. He wasn't brought in to defend and to be in a mid block and to mark space. He was there to get on the ball and score and make things happen. And I think he is a player that was wasted under Arteta. Arteta needed someone like that, and I think he needed that person to link up with Pepe and Aubameyang and Lacazette, and he could have been that missing piece of the jigsaw. And now he's gone to Fenerbahce, and I think Fenerbahce are in financial ruin at the moment. He's not taking a wage for the rest of the year. And he's going to go there. He's just going to go, play football, enjoy himself, and hopefully he can do some magic for him. And I think but that thing about him taking his wages, that's going to go under the radar, because there's a lot of negative light on him. And I think he's a phenomenal footballer. And I think for someone who's spent that many seasons there, I think he's been misrepresented. I think he's been poorly treated, if I'm honest. So I wish him best of luck, and he should just be there enjoying his football.
Yeah, it should be the most important thing for a player, that enjoying it. Speaking on two transfers Liverpool made on the final day was Kabak and Davies. Yeah. There's all the talk about not signing the centre back, then two come up once.
Yeah. That is it's a short-term thing, isn't it? People are going, they're going to have too many centre-halves. Look, they needed a centre-half. They've had results this season where they've had either Henderson or Fabinho at centre-half. But that's just a massive gap in centre midfield. Like, they could not have lasted the rest of the season without a proper centre-half. Matip's on and off going. He's now out for the rest of the season with an ankle injury. They don't know when Gomez is going to come back. Van Dijk, he's making a great recovery, but you don't want to push that and prolong his injury and it go into next season. So it's more than likely Klopp doesn't want to risk him. So he's brought in two centre-halves, and rightfully so. Yeah, Ben Davies, they've conceded a lot of goals at Preston. They've not been exactly brilliant at the back. They have leaked goals, but he's a regular first-team football, which is what they needed. And then is it Kabak?
Yeah, from Schalke.
The bottom at league, Schalke, yeah, they've again leaked a lot of goals, but that doesn't mean it takes 11 players to lose a football match, not just one player. And if Klopp thinks he's got bags of talent and he's got a lot of potential, and Klopp knows more than us, so could this be the step in the right direction for him? We'll soon find out. I don't think they're going to win the league though.
You don't want you, but do you think that will make players like Nat Phillips and Reece Williams step the game up, because obviously their chances are being limited now with two centre backs? But in our eyes as fans, you should see them up the levels now, because you've got two centre backs and they won't want to lose their place either.
I think competition is healthy, but like Phillips is a young lad. Like he had a bit of a bad game against us in FA Cup at United, and you'd expect people to get behind him. Instead, he got. I'm sorry to go off topic, but he got abused for it. How's that going to do that any good for the poor lad? The young lads, I don't think they should be worried about places, because the time will come. They've been thrown straight in the deep end, the youngsters at Liverpool, because they've had to. They've had to step up to the plate, and I think fair play to them. I think this is healthy for them. It shows that they've been doing a good job, but they need a bit of help. The club needed some confidence, and I think not having proper centre halves in place, I think it's affecting Robertson and Trent, because they had the license to go up. Because if you've got a spine of Gomez, Van Dijk, Henderson, and Fabinho, it gives the license for Trent and Robertson to get up and go be aggressive and go attack. That's how they've assisted so many goals, because they've had the protection. So when you lose, they are essentially losing four players, because the two centre midfielders are playing out of position, the two centre halves are injured. There's unfamiliarity, there's lack of sustainability. So the two fullbacks who play a part in most of your goals, and now having to be more wary and have to do more defensive duties. So it creates a negative chain of events. So bringing in two centre halves by Klopp is very, very smart of him to do that.
Yeah.
So we'll soon find out how that pays off.
And it brings me on to a topic that I like, which I've discussed with guests before. Who's been your player of the season so far?
It's a hard one, that. I think there's a lot of players who... there's a couple of players in mind who have really been a bit of a dark horse. I think Thomas Souček has been formidable. For someone to play as a deep like defensive midfielder, to be able to get us that many goals, not just from headers, because he is powerful in the box, but to make his run from deep and to get forward. He has been very unpredictable as a footballer, and he's been fantastic. It's not just been like, he's had a good spell of a couple of months. He's been fantastic since the start. I think Luke Shaw has been unbelievable, and he's had a torrid time at United with injuries. I think Jose Mourinho was man management skills and was really poor. He put on quite a lot of weight. He had a massive hit in his confidence. So I think the last 2-3 months, Luke Shaw is coming back into the player that we spent that money on. Yeah. I think he could get into the England squad. I think he's been phenomenal. So Thomas Souček, Luke Shaw, they've been two players for me, have been unbelievable. I think you're looking at Gundogan. I think I know quite a few City fans that can't stand him, but I think again, a lot of injuries in his time at City. He's getting a constant flow of games now. He's getting goals. He's getting involved with in attacking plays. He's been fantastic. So yeah, it's a toss-up between them three, really. It's hard. It's hard to decide. I think Eric Bailey's been unbelievable. I sound really biased to be a United fan, but obviously I've watched all the games, so you tend to look at them more. It's been a really, really good season.
you was touching there on Luke Shaw. It goes back to the competition talk we just spoke about them with Liverpool. Do you think Alex Telles has helped the fact because Luke Shaw was coming into his own, then he had like a spell where Telles was in the first team, and all of a sudden it's like you've got a new Luke Shaw on the left side now, bombing down the wing, crossing, getting assists defensively. I think Salah's still in his back pocket, and I'm saying that just to trigger a few Liverpool fans.
He was unbelievable. He literally he destroyed Salah that game. He just couldn't do anything against him. Touching on the thing about Alex, I like Alex Telles. I rate him. I think he's a good person to. I think he's a good player to have. It's a good bit of competition for Luke Shaw because there probably will be a time where he will get injured or he may drop in a bit of form, and that's when we bring in Telles. And also, you can play Telles further up the pitch because I think United still have a bit of a problem with our wide players, and I think it's someone that we are missing still at our club. So I think Telles has still been a great addition to the team. When he has played, he has done well. He's good on set pieces. Like Luke Shaw, he can whip a ball in. So no, I think he's someone to have as an understudy for Luke Shaw. And if Luke Shaw does have a bit of a poor run of form, he knows that he's going to be on his heels, saying, "Look, you better step your game up, or I'm going to come in and take your spot." So yeah, I don't see it as a problem at all.
Here's one question I want to ask you, just slightly off topic. What do you think of Cavani's input at United? Because I think he's been a brilliant signing for us.
Yeah, I won't lie. I was screaming at my telly a little bit because I thought, why have we not brought centre half in? Because I thought we needed it. But Cavani is just that guy. I think this is a great opportunity for Greenwood, Martial, and Rashford to learn from him. Despite being 33 years old, he's fit. He can move. His movement off the ball to get into scenarios is unbelievable. He's tenacious. He hones defenders. He's good on the ball. I think he's been something that we've needed because I think as a United fan, I think we made a really poor choice getting rid of Lukaku. I think Lukaku was a great hold-up man, playing to your feet. He can spin a defender. I think with Cavani, he's a big presence. He's a nightmare for defenders, and he's a proper striker.
Yeah.
Because when Greenwood goes up front, Greenwood drops really, really deep to receive it. Cavani, he will back in and back in and back into a defender. He'll have it into feet. He'll have it in behind. He can link up with players. He's a threat in the box. So I think Solskjaer, it's a good ace in the hole that bringing in Cavani. So he's not scored. He's not going to score us 20 goals this season or next season because he's only on a two-year deal. But he is going to get them crucial goals, and he is going to be a part of plays, and he's going to make defenders night. He's going to be a nightmare for defenders. So I'm really glad that we've got him at the club. Definitely.
You mentioned something there about Rashford and Martial learning off him. Famous clip going around on the United social media pages where Cavani's showing like Rashford and gestures like spinning behind, and you'll get a chance. The next thing I think Rashford scored against Southampton from spinning in behind and receiving the ball. So they're the little things that help players become better than what they already are when you're learning off someone experienced.
Yeah, definitely. That's why Cavani's been such a potent striker. He did it at PSG, he did it at Napoli, and that's why he's still classed as one of the best strikers in the world because he has them little finer details in his game. Like Rashford and Martial, they're nowhere near the finished product. They're not the finished article, sorry. But they've got the elements to do it. They've got the ingredients to be really good footballers, to plateau. But to get to the level like Cavani, they just need to start maturing as footballers, and they need to know when to make that running behind, not just running for the sake of it. They need to be a little bit more intelligent and to read and understand the game a little bit more, because they've all got bags of ability. Martial really, really frustrates me because we can all see he's got talent, but he's just in this. You just watch him sometimes, and he's just got this negative complex about him where it just feels like when the going gets tough, Martial becomes a ghost, and you just lose him. And Solskjaer clearly sees something in him, but this is now the time for Martial where he needs to use his time wisely, learn from Cavani, get understanding when to make them runs, when to drag a defender away, when to go receive. And I think if he could learn from him, he'll become such a more well-rounded footballer.
I think when you said to go and get stuff there with Martial, I think that's where Greenwood comes into his own. I know he's only young, but he takes the game to defenders like he really, really wants it. And you can see that every time he steps on the pitch for United. I think if a few more players did that for you, there'd be no reason why you couldn't be progressing a little bit more than what you are doing.
Yeah, I think Greenwood showed a lot of grit. I know he went through a bit of a tough time. I think he went through some personal issues, but you could look at him like, I know he was in the media with stuff that was like rumours circulating around him, and I think we forget he's only 18 years old, 19 years old. He's a young lad, and he scored 17 goals for us last season. He's possibly just below Cavani. He's probably one of the best finishers we've got at the club. He can shoot with his left, his right. I just think he's still got that naivety phase in him, and I think he just needs to grow up more as a footballer, and he'll show up. We are asking a lot from him. He plays a lot of games, and I think he's going to be someone that we're going to be talking about for years to come. And I think he's going to break into the England squad, and I think he is going to get his shot. He just needs to keep his head above water. He just needs to make the right decisions off the pitch. Because if you're out the media limelight and you're making the right decisions off the pitch, it's only going to benefit you on the pitch. So I think we've got an exciting player there. So I can't wait to see how his career unfolds.
I think this brings us into the most important question of the podcast. Are you Messi or Ronaldo?
Ronaldo. No question about it. I think so. When I was at university, we talked about two different types of talents. We talked about innate talent, and we talked about a talent of hard work. Messi, naturally unbelievable. I cannot sit here and tell you that Messi is this. Messi is phenomenal. He's one of the most naturally gifted footballers in the world. Ronaldo was a very good footballer. However, you could see the difference. Ronaldo never wanted to be second best. He grafted. He was the earliest there at training, and he would be the last person to leave. He used to do scissors and step overs with ankle weights on. He used to jog with weighted bags. He is a genius of hard work, and I just like Ronaldo. Ronaldo will never stop until he's become the most successful footballer. He's won it in England. He's won the Premier League in England. He's won the Champions League. He's won it internationally. He's won things in Juventus, in Italy. He's won it in Spain. And that's what I think is the difference between him and Messi. Messi is in a comfort blanket. Messi, he's in Barcelona. He's been the main man at Barcelona for God knows how many years. He's played with some of the best players in the world. Ronaldo likes challenges. And one point that I will say that for me is the biggest point between Messi and Ronaldo is when the going gets tough in games and in big scenarios, Messi goes missing. Prime example last season in the Champions League with Liverpool. There was a year with Liverpool. What happened when Barca beat Liverpool? Was it 3-4-0 at the Nou Camp?
3-0 at Nou Camp, wasn't it?
Yeah. And what happened that next game when they played him at Anfield? Liverpool absolutely destroyed him. Where was Messi that game?
Yeah.
Nowhere to be seen. Ronaldo is that player where when he got injured in the Euros, Ronaldo's there on the touchline with his bandage around his leg, clapping and spurring his players on, riling his players because he doesn't like losing. When the going gets tough, you need a player like Ronaldo. And that just shows the true professionalism of him. So I've always been a Ronaldo over Messi fan.
Yeah.
Every time.
The same. I'm a massive Ronaldo fan. I think one of the things that I enjoy, I've been lucky enough to see him live because obviously, even though I'm a Bolton fan, get to see him live when United come to the Reebok and stuff like that. But one comment that was made on episode 1, I think it was my brother, he said it. Yeah, but he goes to the best teams in different countries. You can go to the best teams in different countries, but if you don't perform, you're just another player. Ronaldo has performed everywhere he's gone. So that's why he stands out. That's I'm not saying Messi should leave to become a better player, but I think deep down there's part of him that does want another challenge, but doesn't know how to go about it. Because obviously there wouldn't have been such a drama at Barcelona if he didn't want it.
Yeah, well, I think it comes down to Ronald Koeman's come in and shook things up. We saw it with Suarez and a number of players. I think what happened against Bayern Munich when they got absolutely dismantled against them. I think Barcelona have had ongoing problems for the past 4 or 5 seasons. They've had a fantastic system where the coach of the team was someone who's been embedded in there for a number of years, who's gone through up the ages. They had a fantastic youth system where the likes of Xavi, Iniesta, Messi, Fabregas, all them players came through and they had a mould. They had their own style of football. I just think the transfer policy and the transfer, it's a shambles. And now the skin, if anything, they want to cash in on Messi before it's too late. But who's going to pay? Who's going to pay 300, 400 grand a week for him? He's 34 years old. He's not in the same I wouldn't be surprised if someone paid that for Ronaldo because even though he's 36 years old, he's 2 years older than Messi. Look at the shape and the physique and the way he looks after himself in comparison. I'm not saying Messi's a slob and he doesn't keep himself in shape, but who's more prone to injuries out of them two? Messi. Ronaldo has ambition. Ronaldo knows that it's time to leave. It's time to leave. I need to move on. Messi has outgrown Barcelona. There's nothing going right at the moment for that club. They're not the same club that they were 4 or 5 seasons ago, but they're living in the past and they're not bringing. Look at the players he brought in, Braithwaite.
Yeah, bloody hell.
Is he Barcelona quality?
Wasn't he at Middlesbrough at one point? Didn't even make it there.
Yeah, I think he only scored 2 goals in 20 odd games. That's the difference. They've gone from having the likes of Ronaldinho to Rivaldo to they've had some amazing players. They've gone from there to Braithwaite. What a compliment that is. So that's the point. I don't think it's just Messi that is the problem. I think it's Barcelona itself is the problem. They've relied too much on Messi. They haven't filled the boots of Xavi and Iniesta since they've left. So Barcelona need to sort themselves from the foundation up, and maybe it might be a time to maybe lose a bit of money on Messi, take a bit of a loss, get rid of him, use the money that they're going to get from him, and bring in a new structure and bring in the right players and sort themselves out. Definitely.
Yeah, agree with you there. No? Funny enough, this brings us to the close of episode 4. I'd like to thank Alex for coming on. It's been brilliant.
Yeah, been an absolute pleasure. Glad to be on, and hopefully one day I can talk loads again and just come on another time.
And thank you guys for taking time out to watch.